Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. I think this week might actually be pretty much all farm news rather than anything else. It's been a bit of a busy-ish week here, I guess. A few things to fill you in on anyway. So I took the plunge this past weekend and I have bought myself some cats. Two cats. It's been just over a year since I said goodbye to Wade, and I still miss him terribly. For those of you who don't know, that was my little pet dog. And I've been wanting an indoor pet, but I just couldn't bring myself to get another dog. I don't know. He's my heart dog, as someone told me, and I think that will be the way it will be for a very, very long time. So I didn't feel that I could replace him, and I know that's not what it is, but I wanted an indoor pet, but I didn't want another dog. And in a lot of ways, Wade was very much a cat inside a dog's body. He would sit and curl up, and he even made like a little kind of meow noise at times. And yeah, he was very chill and he didn't need walking really. And he was happy to just sort of be around. And yeah, so that's the kind of pet that I wanted. And I decided that I would get two cats so that they would keep each other company, and also so that they would kind of regulate their own behavior a little bit as well. Hopefully that will work. Uh, so I've been thinking about it for a little while, and I had taken a brief look at the animal shelter website, and I'd seen a couple of pairs that might suit me. But I didn't want to get my hopes up in terms of whether they were still going to be there or if I would feel that connection or whatever. But I was like, well, I'm just going to go in on a Saturday and I'm going to meet some cats and see how I feel. So before that, I popped into Kmart and got all of the bits, kitty litter and trays and climbing things and some toys. And obviously I'll continue to add to that. I have already bought a second climbing tower because that seems to be a favorite. And then went to the shelter, went in, explained to the volunteers what I was after, and they were quite excited that I would be happy to adopt two. And then went in, and they have like little enclosures where they are, and you can go inside to that enclosure and meet them. And I walked past a couple of single cats that were a little older, and I wasn't that interested in that. And I definitely didn't want a kitten either because I didn't want to have to do litter training or anything of the sort. So if they were already properly litter trained and were a little bit older, I thought that would probably be easier to manage. And I'd seen this pair online. It was a mum and her son, and I came across them quite early in my tour around the cat shelter. And I went in, and mum was so friendly and happy and snuggled up to me right away. Her son, not so much, but he let me pat him around his face. He gave me a little kind of snarl, but he wasn't unpleasant. He just was quite wary, I think. And so straight away I was like, yeah, these are my cats. I have to have these and take them home. So went through all the paperwork, got them in the what do you call it? The carrier, and brought them home. So now I have Maggie, who is the mum, and Quinn, who is the boy, and they're only about a year apart from each other. So she had him very young. So they're slightly different ages. They're both quite energetic. For the first afternoon that I had them, they both basically hid under the bed. And gradually they started to warm to me. Maggie much quicker than Quinn did. He's definitely more hesitant, but I think also too she is putting out the vibe that she's in charge and that she's going to make sure that everything is okay for him, because he was climbing in a spot that I have that had a few bags and things, and he kind of went in behind them, and she saw him do that, and she went over and gave him a bit of a slap and got him out of there. And then she went in to investigate to make sure that it was okay. And then once she'd done that, he was okay to go back in there again. So she's definitely being very protective of him, and I think she's kind of made him hide away a little bit. But they have settled in surprisingly well. They'd been in the rescue for a couple of months, so I'm actually surprised that they've settled in so well. I mean, my place is quite small, so they don't have a huge space to explore, but it is much bigger than a tiny little enclosure that they were in. They now have a couple of windows that they can sit in. Maggie is already sitting on the windowsill and watching Twyla through the window, my sister's dog, and she just sits there like a little statue and just flicks the bottom of her tail, and she's having the best time. They're also both got a tower each now, and they can sit and watch the birds fly past and get themselves sunned and sleep in a nice spot. So yeah, they've settled in really well. It seems Quinn will come and do snuggles sort of during the day if I'm sitting doing something, and is quite inquisitive about that. And then in the evenings, he kind of goes and sleeps somewhere else, and Maggie has been sleeping on my bed. So it's been a little bit of a combination. I think they're still obviously trying to find their way because it's very new, and they are sort of feeling out where they fit into the hierarchy, and making sure that, getting their place with me as well. But yeah, I'm glad to have that sort of indoor pet company again. I really did miss having that. And as I said, I didn't want to have another dog because I just didn't feel that that was right for me right now. But these cats are definitely making me happy. And as I said, I got the two because I wanted them to be able to keep each other company and to sort of make them regulate each other in a way. Uh, Wade was very happy being an only child, but he did have the company of dogs and goats along the way. And whereas the cats are indoor all the time, that is council regulation, and I would definitely not want to get them out on a farm because there is so much high risk in terms of animals and things that they can hurt themselves on, or animals that they could harm. So definitely inside is the way to go. So having each other to keep company is a good thing. So they're settling in reasonably quickly, and I hope that that continues, and we get into a routine together. And I'll be sure to share more stories with you of them as I get to know their personalities. And obviously, I do have the sheep, and I really do love them as well. But it's a little bit different having like a livestock animal pet compared to a domesticated in the house pet. And I do love the sheep, and I come out and see them almost every day and give them a scratch and check on them and talk to them and everything. But to have that company in the house, especially in the evenings when I'm watching shows and doing some knitting, which I have to be really careful of and train them to not destroy. And at the moment I'm keeping it very separate in bags. But yeah, to be able to have that company and to have that sort of snuggle buddy is really lovely. The other thing that's happened around the farm this week is that we had land care and a group of kids from a school come and plant trees by our dam. The local land care group got some funding for some dam improvement works, and so this is sort of like a showcase experiment kind of to show how a dam can be improved by planting around it to improve the quality of the water and the amount of animals and bird life and everything that you can attract by having a band of plants and undergrowth around a dam. So, yeah, I think we got about 300 plants delivered, as well as all of the stakes and the mesh and the hessian ground cover and everything to prevent weeds. And they've been planted in 3 quite tight blocks, and there are different levels of canopy plants amongst it. So there's some grasses, some shrubs, and then some trees as well. And the plan is that it's just along one side of the dam, and that will hopefully grow without getting eaten too badly by kangaroos and deer and not getting frostbitten and all those things. So hopefully we'll get a good result in terms of the growth out of it. And then land care can use it as an example of how farmers can improve their dams without encroaching too much on to actual productive farm paddock space as well. So it hasn't taken up a lot of space, and there's gaps in between so you can get in and access the dam. And hopefully it's a successful planting that will be able to really showcase that balance between farming and environmental. So with the focus on introducing two new cats to my house, everything else has really been on the back burner. So I haven't reskeined any yarn at all this week. Um, I have done some new labels. So I've updated my labels for my mini skein sets, and I have updated stock in my point of sale program. All of the yarn that I dyed last week, that I showed you last week, is now sitting here. It's all dry, so I'm going to put it away. I'll probably reskein a little bit this afternoon and over the next few days. And look, I'm pretty much done for market. So I think the next thing that I have to actually do is what I talked about last week, which is do all of the repacking and deciding how I'm going to be displaying my stall at the Victorian Hand Knitters and Crocheters Guild market at Marybeck, the Coburg Town Hall, which is the 1st and 2nd of June. So please make sure that you put that one in your diary and you come along, because I think it's going to be a great 2-day event with stacks of really good vendors and a really good place for lovers of yarn and fibre to be. This week I am wearing the True Stripes jumper, which is from the 52 Weeks of Easy Knit. It is knit flat and seamed, which I haven't done very much, but I really like the fit of this and I think it works really well. It is in the Old Miller Green by the Knitting Man Recommends. The green is from Colleen's Crafts. The purple is also from Colleen's Crafts. And the speckled orange and yellow is from Fluff and Nonsense. I think it's called Mango Daiquiri. The colours from Colleen's Crafts didn't have names. And then there's a cream in here, which was just I think a Wangaratta Woolen Mills mill end that I don't have a label for. I really love how the colours turned out in this. It's a little bit bold for me, but I really do enjoy how they look together, and it was a really good knit. So in terms of knitting progress, pretty much the same as business progress. Not a lot this week. My full focus has been on Maggie and Quinn and not on anything else all that much. But I have had my knitting out because I was quite aware of sort of introducing them to me as having that around when I'm sitting on the couch or sitting in bed at the end of the day, because that's what I like to sit and knit in the evenings. So I've had it out and I've done a little bit. Let me show you what I've done. So I've been continuing to work on my Mosaica shawl, and I did put in a marker last week because I wanted to make sure that I could let you know where I was up to. So you can see where that marker is just there. So I've done from there up to here. So not too much, especially considering that the rows are getting quite long. Enough, I would say. Especially, as I said, I've been really focused on lots of other things. So I'll just continue to do a few rows. I've been sitting with this sort of even just not knitting and having it on my lap or to the side of me, just so that they get used to it. All of my other knitting and fibre stuff I have put in tubs or put into a cupboard so that it is 100% out of the way, so that there's no chance that they will accidentally or on purpose get themselves involved with my yarn. And I'm making sure to close this bag up when I'm not knitting on it as well, just so it's 100% sealed, because it's going to be my fault if they get to it. I just need to be really mindful of that. So, and that's a whole learning thing for me, because I used to just leave projects in the middle of rows, just sitting around half done, and I didn't have to worry about anything. And Wade would never touch any of my knitting. He only once, I had a one of those plastic stitch count markers, or not markers, row counters that you just twist. And I think he thought it was a bug or something, and he like chewed on it and snapped it open. But apart from that, he never touched any of my knitting. So hopefully they're the same. Some cats are not all that interested, but they are playing with, you know, little toys that have little strings and things off them. So I do think I will have to be careful. But they haven't grabbed anything else that might lead me to think that they would be playing with it. Like I've got some scarves hanging over a screen and they haven't yet um, grabbed those either. So maybe I'll be lucky, but I still think I will have to be a little bit cautious. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.